friendship that'll never ever end.
Run! King Wonka Beats.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction live stream number 15. In that neighborhood, my brothers and sisters. Welcome in once again, my friends, to another live stream. As always, I hope y'all doing excellent out there today. And I'm glad that you came on back to the channel once again to Up with the Bean. And y'all already know, man, the link is down in the comment section. If you want to join the stream, Bean Team, all you got to do is click on that link and I will bring you up here. And also, y'all already know I got to give a shout out to everybody in the comment section, starting with Canary. Woo! Glad you back, Canary. Inflow said, run. 1, 2. We got Livey here. Yo, Bean Team was a Livey. And Inflow said, I'm chopping carrots to the beat. Hey, that I love that freaking beat, man. I actually love that freaking beat. And I still cannot wait till I actually release the complete song of Child's Play to y'all. It just gotta be the perfect timing. But I digress. We gonna get into the live stream today, y'all. And the channel that we going to, long story short, short story long, is a channel that I used to react to back in the day. You know what I'm saying? But I haven't reacted to this channel in like at least over a year and a half ago. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, you know what? Me and the Bean Team on one of our live streams, we gonna check this channel out again, and we gonna check out 3 of these videos today. And that channel that I'm talking about is Anna Solves. Back to Anna Solves, y'all. And the title of the first video is The Colt Baby Mom Who Was Tricked Into Killing Her Daughter by Her Master. Like, it be so crazy, y'all, with these freaking Colts, man, and how people just believe in that stuff. Like, they really be drinking the Kool-Aid to the point where they would do anything that the Colt want them to do, especially the Colt leader, the Jim Jones of the Colt. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all remember Nick Crowley, This Is Grandpa, and what Grandpa had the parents of his Colt doing to all the children and stuff. It would never cease to amaze me, but at the same time, we have watched so many videos now about Colts, so it's like it's almost expected, if you know what I'm saying, man. But I digress. Livy said, been a while since I heard from you. I don't know. Yeah, been a long time, Livy, since I went to I don't know. And Inflow said Grandpa was nasty, like beyond nasty. Inflow, like seriously, man, these Colts are freaking wild, and it's crazy what they will have you do to your child, just like we're about to check out in this video. But we're about to go and get into it. But before we get into it, Bean Team, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you may need. Get what you need, please. It almost froze on me. But you know what you got to do. Y'all got what y'all need. Y'all ready to go? Then let's go.
Polygamy, mental health struggles, and cult-like control are all elements that played into an unimaginably heinous crime: the brutal murder of a defenseless baby girl. The story of 20-year-old Chloe Driver and the horrific murder of her 13-month-old daughter Hannah shocked and disgusted the nation.
Little baby Hannah was just 13 months old when her mother Chloe took her life, stabbing the baby to death in their home in Canton, Georgia.
While Chloe took the fall for the heinous crime, many have questioned if her cult master husband deserved to also face justice for his role in the case. Let's keep watching to unravel this controversial and very unusual case. On December 9th, 2020, cops and first responders in Canton, Georgia, responded to a crime scene at 2:30 in the afternoon. It was a call that they would never forget. They arrived at an area called Mountain View, a local subdivision. It was there that they would discover what initially appeared to be an attempt at murder-suicide. They found a young woman named Chloe Driver, who appeared to be suffering from self-inflicted stab wounds. Shockingly, she was still alive. Her infant daughter Hannah was also covered in blood and severe stab wounds. But tragically, Chloe's wounds were fatal, and she had already passed away by the time first responders arrived at the scene. Chloe was rushed to the hospital for treatment and would end up surviving her attempt to take her own life. While at the hospital, she admitted multiple times to law enforcement that it was she who had taken her infant daughter's life. She was arrested and charged with malice and felony murder, aggravated assault, and cruelty to children. Once she was well enough to leave the hospital, she was immediately taken to jail.
We learned to find out it looked like it'd be an attempted murder.
Hannah died, and Chloe was arrested after her release and charged with malice, felony murder, aggravated assault, and cruelty to children in the first degree. Police reports allege driver admitted to stabbing her daughter multiple times.
What could have possibly driven this young mother to commit such a despicable act? Was it some kind of mental health issue, or was it pure evil? As investigators began to take a deeper look at Chloe's background, relationships, and living situation, they would quickly realize that this case was unlike anything they had seen before. Chloe's motive.
And I just got to point out real quick, man, Anna asks, like, what would drive her to do this? Was it mental issues or was she just evil? I don't care which way it is, man. Either one of them, you pick it. I don't care. Regardless, she need to be held accountable for doing this to her child. You know what I'm saying? Long story short, story long, her ass need to be in prison, locked up for the rest of her life. She should never see freedom again. And we got Lazy Prep in the house, man. Bing Ting. Yes, Lively, right, wrong, either way. It don't even freaking matter, man. You should be locked up for the rest of your life. M-Flow. I could never hurt anyone. Just knowing people out here killing their own babies is crazy. It's diabolical. It's like, damn, do I live in the same world? Do we live in the same world as this lady? Or is she in an alternate universe? That's how it make you feel, man. I digress. Let's keep going.
Motivation for wanting to kill her own daughter was complex, and there was much more going on in this case than it initially seemed. Chloe's life was much different than the life of a normal 20-year-old girl. This was because Chloe was a polygamist. At the time, she was married to an older man named Ben Michael, who would often go by Brian Joyce or Z. Ben was a self-proclaimed spiritual leader who believed he had special gifts.
You will hear that he had 3 wives at this time. He had Jessica, he had Chloe, he had Sarah. It was a constant indoctrination of an alternative ideology belief system to an already vulnerable young lady. A 17, 18, and 19-year-old woman with a 38, 39, 40-year-old man.
In addition to Chloe, Ben had at least 2 other known wives. Chloe, Ben, and these other wives were all in a very strange polygamous relationship that was described as cult-like. Ben was the leader of the group, and the women would typically follow his lead and do anything he asked of them. According to those who had seen what the dynamic was like within the group, Ben would intentionally try to make the women jealous of one another. The polygamous dynamic of this relationship was supposedly specifically hard on Chloe because she had been with Ben the longest. When she first became involved with him, there were no other women she had to compete with. As often happens in these types of plural relationships, drama and conflict were pretty much unavoidable. Despite being married to multiple women, Ben's feelings were not the same for each woman. He definitely had his favorites among his wives, and it didn't take Chloe long to figure out that she was not one of them. Over time, she began to become resentful of both Ben and his other wives because she felt like she wasn't being given the same level of attention. Chloe's complex living situation caused her to feel frustrated, angry, and unloved. It also contributed to a pretty volatile living situation in the home that she shared with her husband and the other sister wives. Along with practicing polygamy, Chloe, Ben, and the other wives also believed in living a nomadic lifestyle. This involved moving from place to place and rarely staying in one home for very long. This was partially because they were trying to protect the lifestyle from being detected by other people, particularly law enforcement.
You know, polygamy illegal in the United States. Other cultures, it's fine, it's welcomed in other parts of the world. Everyone has an opinion about it. And by itself, if you have a situation with all consenting adults and they don't get legally married, it does exist.
Polygamy is illegal in all 50 of the United States. In fact, it's even considered a crime that can be punished by fines, jail time, or both. Whether Chloe was actually happy with moving from place to place all the time or having to share her husband's affection with other women likely wouldn't have mattered, because the dynamic within her relationship was cult-like. Chloe didn't get a say in family decisions. Ben, being much older than her, used the fact that she was vulnerable and impressionable to his advantage. He was able to manipulate and control her and essentially acted like her master because Chloe already suffered from her own mental health issues. She went along with Ben's orders. While any rational person could see that this was a very toxic situation, Chloe never tried to leave. The nomadic lifestyle that the group was living caused Chloe to become isolated from everyone else besides those who were in the cult. She would rarely have any kind of communication with her family and friends back home. It's believed that this was one of the many factors that contributed to Chloe's sanity quickly unraveling. Over time, the imbalance of power within Chloe's relationship with her husband only grew more and more obvious. It began to take a toll on her already struggling mental health. She began to try to think of ways that she could win back her husband's attention. This is where Chloe's mental instability began to cloud her thinking. Instead of blaming her sister wives for the fact that her marriage with Ben was not where she wanted it to be, she began to blame her daughter. Chloe began
Blame her daughter? Really? See, yeah, man, she really got mental health issues going on. Like, this whole polygamy thing is just weird to me anyway. I don't know how the freak multiple people can be married to each other at the same time. It only supposed to be 1 + 1 = 2, not 3, 4, and 5. You know what I'm saying, man? I think Inflo said it best. Oh no, I ain't sharing. Exactly, man. And then in a weird way, y'all, I feel like Chloe was kidnapped. Like, she was consensually kidnapped. You know what I'm saying? Because she is the youngest one in this marriage group, or whatever you want to call it, this polygamist marriage, however I'm supposed to say the word. She is the youngest one. She is the most vulnerable one. They are older. They are manipulating her, especially the damn dude, the man of this situation, the cult leader, the master. And I'm not saying I feel bad for her, because what she ended up doing to her child is freaking horrible. Especially when she trying to blame her child for the master not loving her more than he loved the other wives. Like, this whole situation is just crazy, man. It's freaking crazy. We got Ice Pub in the building. I finally caught a stream early. Shout out to you, our Ice Pub. Glad you are here. We just getting started, though. We just getting started, and we starting off cray freaking Z, man. Live said, I don't mind poly stuff like this, but this is extreme and kind of nuts. And I agree with Live on that, as far as like different strokes for different folks. What is the freaking term? Y'all get it? Different strokes for different folks. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm just saying I wouldn't do it, but it goes to the level where now you got her killing her freaking kid. That's when we taking it a little too far. Now we doing murdering ish, man. Freaking crazy though. Canary said, blame the pedo weird cult leader, not your damn baby. That's all I was trying to say. Long story short, story long. Canary just nailed the head with the freaking hammer, man. How you blame a baby for something you got going on? There you go again, man. That's all I'm saying. If you want to be up in this menage a trois, you can. But now you placing the blame on your child, and that's where you effing up. Let's keep going, y'all.
Began to believe that baby Hannah was an obstacle that was keeping her from winning over Ben's love. She began to become resentful of her own daughter. Prosecutors believe that it was around this time that Chloe began plotting ways to remove Hannah from their lives altogether. On the day of the murder, Chloe and Hannah had been staying at a home that belonged to a man connected to their group. That afternoon, neighbors reported hearing blood-curdling screams coming from inside the home. This caused the neighbors to call 911. It would only be a short time later that first responders would arrive to discover the tragic scene that had unfolded within the home. According to the prosecution, Chloe was fueled with rage, resentment, and jealousy when she brutally killed her own daughter that day.
But the defense paints a different picture, a mental breakdown by Chloe, who was, they say, legally insane at the time, suffering from delusional thinking.
But when Chloe would eventually face trial for murder in late 2024, her defense team painted a very different picture of who Chloe was and what she was going through at the time of the murder. They claimed that Chloe was suffering from intense mental health issues as a result of her involvement with her cult leader husband and their dysfunctional group. In fact, they said that her mental health issues had become so severe that she was legally insane at the time that she decided to kill Hannah and then attempt to take her own life. Their goal was to try to prove that Chloe was not guilty of her daughter's murder by reason of insanity. This was going to be a very difficult task to pull off. This is partially because this case takes place in the state of Georgia, where it's especially difficult to prove that someone is legally insane. So Chloe,
And I hope they don't prove she legally insane. I hate that legally insane ish. Regardless if you insane or not, your ass should be locked up. I'm sorry, man. That's just how I feel. Even if you just got to go to the crazy house, to a mental institution, whatever. But you should be off the streets. And Ice Pub said it best, man. Like yesterday's video, these crazy moms. Yes, Jose Ortiz. We watch Evil Intention video. Don't even get me back started on that one. And I crashed out, Bean Team. I ain't gonna lie. If you seen the video, you seen me crash out, man. I started putting out a lot of bad words out of my mouth, man, because it just freaking killed me what the freak was going on in that one. And it's the same way, man. Lively, they ain't getting the help they need or something. I don't know, Lively. I don't know, man. But it's like now, even if I still feel like she should get help, but at the same time, she done did the crime. She got to do the time now. Got to do the time. Also, like you say, she did the crime. It don't matter if she was crazy or not. She killed a person. Point blank, period, man. I'm sorry. Point blank, period. I agree 100%. Yeah, you have to be insane to murder your baby, but it doesn't change the fact you had resentment for a long time that baby and did it. Yes, you've been hating on this baby. You've been hating your own child and resenting them for the reason why your relationship ain't working out with your husband. And not to mention the fact and add context to your husband got 2 other damn wives. Let's keep going.
Chloe's defense team would have to try to prove to the jury beyond reasonable doubt that she had no control over herself or her actions when she killed her daughter. The defense team knew that they had their work cut out for them. Not only would they have to prove Chloe's insanity, but they would also have to deal with the emotional factor that the victim was a 13-month-old defenseless baby girl. Most juries don't have sympathy for mothers who kill their own children, especially babies. This would make this case all the more difficult for the defense. As Chloe sat in the courtroom throughout the trial, she didn't necessarily fit most people's stereotypical idea of mentally insane. She didn't make any sudden outbursts or strange statements. Instead, her behavior seemed mostly calm. During opening statements, Chloe remained mostly stoic and unemotional as the prosecutor ripped into her. Even while showing the jury an adorable photo of baby Hannah from before her murder and describing the way the baby was killed, Chloe barely batted an eye.
This is Hannah Nicole Driver. On December 8th of 2020, she was 13 months old. This is not the way that you will see her in this trial. Instead, you will see her the way that first responding officers saw her, the way that the EMT saw her, the way that the ER doctor saw her, and eventually the way that the medical examiner saw her. You will see this 13-month-old beautiful baby girl who had been brutally murdered by her mother, stabbed repeatedly until every bit of life drained out of her.
A particularly interesting part of the trial was when Jason Spillers, Chloe's friend, came forward to testify about what her cult-style relationship was really like. He explained that Ben would sometimes use strange and far-fetched religious beliefs to control his wives, but that overall they seemed to live in harmony. From an outsider's perspective, Ben's role within the group seemed to be someone who provided financial support, love, and affection to the women. Jason explained that on the day Hannah was killed, he heard strange noises coming from the room where Chloe had been with the baby. He ran into the room and found a gory murder scene. Blood, Chloe lying on the ground with deep lacerations on her neck. Baby Hannah lay on the ground beside her, appearing to be dead. When Jason realized what Chloe was trying to do, he jumped into action, trying to save her life. While he tried to stop her bleeding, Chloe fought against him, telling him that she wanted to die.
And I just wanted to try to save her life. So I held her down and kept pressure on the wounds for probably about 2 minutes because the paramedics came really fast.
Okay. So she told you to stop. She tried to push you away.
Yep.
She said, I'm supposed to die, and that she wanted to see Nimsy one last time.
Yes.
Is that what you recall?
Yes.
Okay.
In a rare moment of emotion from Chloe, she bowed her head and cried as Jason emotionally testified about the kind of mother he saw her be to Hannah before everything happened. She appeared to be a loving and devoted mother who would do anything to protect her little girl. His testimony was very good for the defense because it backed up everything they had claimed so far about Chloe not being in her typical state of mind when she committed the murder.
Everything that you ever saw her do with that child was what you would expect for a loving mother, right? You know that because of what you saw in that child's eyes and face when that child saw her mother, right?
Yes.
You described her earlier in your testimony that the child was bright and full of life, right?
Yes.
And she got that personality. She got that as a reflection from the treatment she got from her mother.
From the love of her parents.
Yeah, C2, right?
C2.
But from her mother.
Yeah.
You said that her mother was particularly the one responsible for most of the day-to-day motherly things with the child, changing the diapers, right?
Yeah, I mean, Z changed some diapers too, obviously, but yeah, she was.
Another incredibly dramatic courtroom moment took place as Ben came forward to testify. He spoke about his daughter Hannah and ripped into Chloe for taking her life. With his strange way of talking and cold demeanor, it was not hard to imagine this man manipulating and controlling young women. Ben took no responsibility for the mental toll that his behavior and the toxic cult dynamic had on Chloe. In fact, he didn't seem to think he had done anything wrong at all. When asked what he would like to see happen to Chloe, he claimed that there was no punishment that she could face that would take back what she had done and the harm she had caused. He even suggested that death might be a fitting punishment for the kind of person who would take the life of a baby. His words seemed to affect Chloe the most out of everyone who testified throughout her trial.
I don't know that no sentence, maximum sentence, could ever get through to her in a way that she won't build a new identity, a new mask, change who she is, manipulate the next party. Chloe Alexis Schreiber wasn't a victim. She had the most power in our group. It was called her fits. I don't know what kind of a sentence would help her. I mean, the inclination to say death penalty, maximum. She believed she could take the life of a baby out of this world, a baby, any baby, and this beautiful baby who had this much potential to help the world, an impact that can't be weighed.
Ultimately, though, it wasn't up to Ben to decide what kind of fate Chloe deserved for killing baby Hannah. It would be up to a jury to decide whether or not she was guilty of murder or too insane to be held responsible for Hannah's death. But before the case was put into the hands of the jury, each side had one last time to plead their case during closing arguments. Chloe's defense team discussed how she had been brainwashed by Ben and his cult ideologies, and even led to believe that she was passing her own sins down to her daughter. But the prosecution urged the jury not to fall for the Insanity Act, claiming that Chloe knew exactly what she was doing when she murdered Hannah. It was very clear that she understood that she was killing Hannah, and she understood the permanency of that decision. She always knew the consequences of that act. Delusional compulsion does not comply in this case. Which side would the jury believe? Thousands of people who had been following the case from around the country waited in anticipation to find out. When it was revealed to the courtroom that the jury had come to a unanimous decision, Chloe showed no signs of fear or any other emotion as she sat awaiting the verdict to be read.
What y'all think, Bean Team? Do y'all think she gonna be found guilty or not? I need to see y'all in the comment section real quick. Lobby, Canary, Lazy. Somebody, man, tell me. Kylie in the building, man. Hey, Bean Team, I'm just getting home from work. What we watching? Kylie, we watching Anna Sauls. I used to react to Anna Sauls back in the day. So we taking a trip down memory lane, checking out some of her the most recent videos. But I want to know what y'all think, man. Do y'all think she is gonna be found guilty or not? I'm kind of nervous, man, because she might not be found guilty. And she might not be found guilty. Lazy Prepper said guilty. CGT said guilty. Lively said guilty. I hope so. But you never know. I feel like I got PTSD from freaking yesterday or something. Girl killed her baby, dog. No one forgives that. I hope not, Canary. I hope not. Let's find out.
The jury's verdict, please.
For each count below, we, the jury, find the defendant, count 1, malice murder, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but mentally ill. Count 2, felony murder, aggravated assault, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but mentally ill. Count 3, felony murder, cruelty to children in the first degree, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but mentally ill. Count 4, aggravated assault, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but mentally ill. Count 5, cruelty to children in the first degree, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but mentally ill.
The jury would
man. Yes, Bean Team. Clap it up, man. She was found guilty on all of it, all the charges, man. Thank you. Thank the freaking you. Even Kylie said guilty. I was hoping, man, but y'all know we watch a lot of these videos where these people literally be murdering in plain sight and still end up being found not guilty. Lobby said it better not be like Casey Anthony case. I can remember that case, and I was a young child when that happened. And Casey Anthony, was that the mother or was that the child? But I just know the mother was found not guilty. So I know what Lobby's saying on that one, y'all. But she was found guilty. Thank God.
Finding Khloe guilty beyond a reasonable doubt on all counts against her, including malice murder and cruelty to children. The horrific case finally came to an end in December of 2024 when Khloe finally faced her sentencing. She appeared in the courtroom in an orange jumpsuit instead of the blazers and slacks she had been seen wearing for weeks during her trial. She also seemed more emotional than she had ever appeared throughout her trial, crying as she read a statement ahead of the judge handing down her sentence. During this statement, she took responsibility for her actions and apologized for the pain and destruction she had caused.
I appreciate the opportunity to be heard during this whole process. I am terribly sorry for many things in my life, but most of all for who was lost, and I always will be. Every single day I live with my guilt. I have drowned in sorrow and regret with such an acute awareness of it for so long. I never imagined there would be anything more than that for me. Quite frankly, I didn't believe I deserved anything more than just that. In the past, I genuinely believed I had to die every day for my daughter, to hate myself for my failure in protecting her. But I know now that life goes on whether I suffer or not, so I need to stop taking from it. I know now that I must live for my daughter instead and do the best I can to be kind and loving and giving, because that's exactly what being with Hannah taught me.
Khloe told the judge that she would accept the punishment she saw fit for her, no matter what it was, with peace. As the judge prepared to give Khloe her sentence, she acknowledged that the crime she had committed was unspeakably evil and horrific. However, she had to also acknowledge that the defense was able to prove to the jury that she was mentally ill at the time. Because of this, she showed mercy to Khloe, which many people didn't believe that she deserved.
You did a horrible thing.
But based on the evidence at trial and based on particularly the mental health testimony, the court will impose the following sentence as to count 1, malice murder, life in prison with the possibility of parole. Count 2 and count 3 are vacated as a matter of law, in that you cannot be sentenced to more than one murder count when there is only one victim.
Ultimately, Khloe was sentenced to life in prison, but she will have the chance of becoming a free person again one day. Whether or not she's able to get mental health help will likely play a major role in whether she's able to convince a parole board to give her a second chance one day. As for Ben, he he is still a free man who is not facing any kind of charges in connection to Hannah's murder or the cult lifestyle that many believe contributed to this horrific tragedy. It is true that Benjamin Ben Michael was not the person who wielded the knife that would ultimately take Hannah's life. However, it seems undeniable that his cult beliefs, control, and manipulation definitely played a role in Chloe Driver's mental unraveling. Will he ever face justice for his role in the case? Only time will tell. Thanks for watching, and don't forget.
Yes, man. Only time will tell, because I feel like maybe he should be charged with something too, because he did play a role in this. He wasn't the one who actually committed the crime, but so to speak, he helped the crime get committed. You know what I'm saying, man? He actually was talking about it. And Kylie said, did she try to plead insanity? Yes, Kylie, you already know how these killers are, man. They commit the crime, then, oh, I'm crazy. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm mentally ill and all that BS. And I'm not saying all of them are not mentally ill, but I think she was just playing crazy, man. That damn lady knew what she was doing, man. And I'm glad she got life in prison, but she do has a possibility of parole. And Anna didn't say how many years she have to serve till she actually get that parole sentence. So, I mean, actually have a possibility of getting out. So we don't know, but hopefully she staying up for the rest of her life. Jack only said, I'm late. What'd she do? And Live answered the question. Here her baby daughter over a dumb man. Yes, and this dumb man was her husband, Jack. But guess what, Jack? Her husband had 2 other wives that she knew about. It was this whole polygamy, this type of crazy menage a trois, quadruple relationship thing they had going on. It was crazy, man. Long story short, story long. But I'm glad she was found guilty, and I'm glad she got that life sentence. We're going to move on to the next one, Bean Team. We got 2 more to go, man. We got 2 more to go.
Can you imagine that you're out for a celebration?
Hold up. And the title of this one is The Gay Serial R Word. I don't even know if I should be saying that on YouTube. So I'm going to say R Word, who kept footage of it all. Worst in Britain's history. And then, let me see if I can just take it back real quick. I know y'all can't see that right there, but it says in the thumbnail of Anna's video that this dude committed the R word to 48 men. 48, Bean Team. This is going to be a crazy one. Let's go.
Can you imagine that you're out for a celebratory night with friends when all of a sudden you black out, later coming to, but unable to remember where you are or what happened to you? That was the terrifying reality of one young man from Manchester who would become the victim of one of the most evil serial predators in history.
This is Reynard Sinaga, as he wanted the world to see him. His social media accounts full of grinning photos of a student having fun. But Sinaga has many faces, and behind the mask lies the truth, a depraved monster said by prosecutors to be one of the most prolific rapists in the world.
Now, this victim is sharing his shocking story of surviving his nightmarish encounter with this monster. How did he end up finding out the truth about what exactly happened to him? Let's keep watching to find out. This victim, identified only by his first name, Daniel, decided to come forward after going through this horrific experience because he thinks it's important for the world to know that it's not just women who can become victims of assault. There are many male victims too, but it can be especially hard for them to open up about their experience. When Daniel decided to share his story, many urged him to hide his face so people wouldn't be able to identify him. But he decided against this, saying he has nothing to be ashamed of. Daniel began his story by describing the night he would encounter one of the most famous predators in history. It started as a great night. It was his birthday, and he was enjoying an evening with friends, sharing food and sipping cocktails.
Manchester's just buzzing. It was new, it was different. When everyone finishes work, everyone goes out. I felt like it was a mini London. Yeah, I loved it.
After a while, it became time to leave, so Daniel's friends went outside to wait for a taxi. But Daniel had to use the restroom, so he stepped aside to a back alleyway. Moments later, everything went black. The next thing Daniel knew, he was waking up on a couch that was not his own, with no memories of what happened after he walked into that alleyway. It was as if the whole rest of the night had just slipped from his mind. Now, he didn't know where he was.
So I just sort of went up an alleyway. And that's it. Like, I don't remember anything after that. I was on a couch when I woke up, fully dressed. I just sort of opened my eyes and I felt groggy. I didn't feel right. But I thought, this is like a hangover and you don't know what's happened. I just laid there for 5 or 10 minutes trying to piece it together. Could not remember anything.
But what Daniel soon realized was that this wasn't just an ordinary hangover caused by his celebrations the night before. This was something far darker and more sinister. As Daniel tried to piece together what was going on and where he was, he looked to his side and noticed someone's feet walking out of the room. He didn't know if it was one of his friends or a complete stranger, but the one thing he did know was that he was in an unfamiliar place and likely in danger. So he pulled himself to his feet and ran out the door as fast as he could. Daniel hoped that his partner or one of the friends that he had been celebrating with the night before would fill in the blanks about what had happened and how he ended up in a strange apartment. But once he arrived home, he would discover that they were all just as confused as he was, claiming he had just disappeared without a trace, causing them all to worry.
And then, I got home and he said, where have you been? And I've been calling the hospitals and worried sick. And what happened? How did you just go? Obviously he accused me of, well, where have you been? Who have you been with? And I knew I hadn't done anything like that. I knew that wasn't in me, but I couldn't explain where I'd been.
Daniel was still confused and
Like, can you imagine being in his situation, being team, waking up in a stranger house in a strange place? The day later, you don't remember what the freak happened, and you see this stranger walking in the room, and you just run up out the home, man. Like, that is so freaking, like Livy said exactly, it's scary, canary. Imagine having the best day of your life only for the most traumatic experience to happen. This is so sad. Like, it really is, man. Like, it's so scary when you don't remember what happened the night before, because if you don't remember, guess what that means, being team? Anything could have freaking happened. You know what I'm saying?
disoriented. For the first time, he suspected he may have been drugged while out the night before. Was it possible that someone had slipped something into his drink? Even suspecting that someone may have tried to take advantage of him, Daniel did not think to call the cops. After all, he had no proof. That is until later in 2017 when a major headline hit the news in Greater Manchester. A young student named Reinhard Sinaga had been arrested, and the crimes he was accused of were nothing less than shocking. The cops claimed that they had found evidence on Reinhard's electronic devices that connected him to more than 200 victims of adult-related crimes. It was an incredible number. How could one person be responsible for that many people and manage to get away with it? Not only that,
exactly, that's the question of the day. Alan just said that he involved in over 200 of these sexual assault victim cases or whatever. How in the freak did he get away with this for so long without getting caught? That is the question of the freaking day. Oh my effing G, Livy. Seriously, you have to be another type of evil to film someone's assault. I agree with that, Canary. He got to be another type of evil to freaking do this to over 200 people. Boy, at least be involved with it.
but Sinaga would record these horrific assaults on camera and then save the footage on his computer and other devices so he could watch it back later. In many cases, his victims were drugged and didn't even know that they were being recorded when this was happening to them. It would come as a disturbing shock to Daniel when the cops arrived at his front door one day to talk to him about Sinaga. They suspected he could have been a victim of Sinaga's without realizing it. At first, there was no way he thought that this could be possible. But when he looked into the eyes of one of the female officers, he realized that she recognized him from the disturbing footage evidence they had found on Sinaga's devices. That was when the reality set in of what actually happened that strange time he woke up confused and disoriented after a night of partying. Reinhard Sinaga had drugged him, taken him back to his apartment, and assaulted him. He then took pictures of him when he was unconscious.
When the police turned up, I could see the way she looked at me, that she recognized me. I'm sorry.
Daniel didn't want to believe that this was true and that he was truly one of Reinhard's over 200 victims. But tragically, the cops had proof. They showed him pictures they found on Sinaga's phone. One of them was a picture of his arm that showed Daniel's unique tattoos. It was then that any doubt he had was erased, and he had to accept that this really happened to him. Daniel described the sickening feeling he had experienced when he saw the photos of himself lying in such a vulnerable state, completely unaware of what was being done to him without his consent. In fact, he said that he appeared to be so still and out of it in the pictures that it almost looked like he was dead.
Because of one of the photos, I said, no, I don't think that's me, you know? And then I looked again and it's just horrible to see yourself that vulnerable on photos that someone else has taken and, you know, and you can see, like, I'm comatose. Like, it's horrible to see.
Daniel said that he had experienced a small bit of relief when the cops explained what had been done to him and that they knew who was responsible. He no longer had to lay awake at night wondering how he had ended up on that couch in that strange apartment. The mystery was over. But at the same time, he knew he would never be the same again, knowing that he had been victimized this way and there was nothing he could do to change it.
I so wish it wouldn't have happened.
Through the support of his family and friends, Daniel has had to put his life back together since finding out what happened to him. But tragically, he is only one of many other victims that have had to do the same as a result of Reinhard's monstrous actions. So who exactly is Reinhard Sinaga? And how did he become one of the most notorious predators in history? How did he get away?
I'll tell you who he is, Anna. A mother who need to be killed. I'm sorry, man. That man would have did that ish to me. I would have been on the lookout for him being team. I probably would have crashed out. I don't know. Maybe I would have thought about it and come to go back to the good side of the world. But man, I would have wanted to kill that man. Seriously. And Jack brought up a great point. Very brave man to do an interview. Exactly, man. Like, it take a lot for a man to sit up there and tell the world that he was sexually assaulted by another man. You know what I'm saying? That is something that is real hard for somebody to do. I don't know if the dude who had got assaulted was homosexual or heterosexual, but it don't matter either way it go. He was sexually assaulted. He was the R word. You know what I'm saying? But even they make it even worse if he was heterosexual. Like, if you was a straight dude out here and a freaking homo do this to you, man, you'll want to kill that dude, man. This is freaking terrible. Then think about all the victims out there. Think about all the freaking victims, man. So messed up, like, it's so messed up. And I want to point out that D-Max said they still trusting people with their drinks. I'll buy my own drink. That's the best thing to do. That's the best thing to do. Long story short, story long. Buy your own drink and make sure that it's around you at all times. Don't just leave it on a random table. Keep it close to you and keep your eyes on it till you're done drinking it. And when you're out in the club, bar, whatever. This is wild.
Away with so many crimes, and would he ever end up facing justice for what he did to Daniel and those other many victims? The story begins on February 19th, 1983, when Reinhard Singha was born into an incredibly wealthy family in Indonesia. His father was a successful real estate entrepreneur and banker who had even his own palm oil plantation. Reinhard grew up in a lavish mansion and had everything he could want, including servants who were constantly around to carry out his every wish. But despite his wealth, Reinhard was a social outcast with few friends. He was very quiet and mostly kept to himself, spending a lot of his time reading or playing music. Still, there were no definite signs from his childhood that would suggest to anyone who knew him what kind of monster he would one day become. Reinhard attended private school where he performed well academically, but his strange mannerisms led to teasing from classmates. It wasn't until after high school during his college years that Reinhard began to change and slowly develop into the cunning but charming predator that would win over countless victims. He became more popular and he made many friends. His personality seemed to evolve and he developed a new sense of confidence. Reinhard ended up moving to the UK in 2007 to pursue further studies at the University of Manchester. He earned 2 master's degrees, one in urban planning and another in sociology. It was then that he settled into the nightlife scene of Manchester that would later serve as the setting of many of his horrific crimes. It was here, in the bustling nightclubs of the city, that Reinhard began to wrestle with his sexual preferences. Although he had always suspected that he was attracted to men, living in conservative Indonesia had forced him to suppress these feelings. But in Manchester, Reinhard finally felt free to explore his true identity. He became more outgoing, making friends with people who shared similar interests, and he involved himself in the social scene. Reinhard's life seemed ideal on the surface. He was a great student, receiving generous financial support from his parents, and he lived completely carefree. He frequently went out clubbing, and while his parents funded his lifestyle, he was content in the role of just being a student and not having to work a real job. But behind this facade, something much darker was brewing within him. By 2011, Reinhard had moved into a small apartment in Manchester's Gay Village, a district known for its vibrant LGBTQ+ community. However, by this time, his personality had begun to change. People started to notice that he was super narcissistic and self-absorbed. He seemed consumed by his own image. He withdrew from his old friends and made new ones through nightclubs. His relationships were often brief, intense, and very rocky. Sometimes he would make strange jokes to his friends about what he would do to get a potential lover to fall for him. Little did they know at the time that he was actually being completely serious.
Sanaga would text his friends boasting of sexual conquests. They thought he was joking when he quoted song lyrics about using a secret potion of which one drop should be enough.
Reinhard was known to be very possessive while he was in a relationship with someone, and if he thought that they were thinking about leaving him, he would threaten to hurt himself to get them to stay. He became more isolated, spending much of his time on dating apps and social media, doing his best to present himself as some kind of celebrity. Reinhard's behavior became more erratic, and by 2014, his truly dark and disturbing nature began to emerge. One night after befriending a young man at a club, he slipped a sedative into the man's drink, lured him to his apartment, and brutally took advantage of him while the man was unconscious. When the young man woke up the next day, he had no memory of how he ended up in Reinhard's apartment. It was very similar to the horrific story of what had happened to Daniel. When the young man woke up, he, like Daniel, had no idea that he had been taken advantage of the night before. He just thought that he had too much to drink, and some thoughtful person had let him spend the night while sleeping it off. He was very grateful and could have never imagined that he had just become one of the very first known victims of Reinhard. Over the next 2 years, Reinhard continued his attacks. He targeted young, intoxicated men, often in their early 20s, who were out partying in Manchester. He would spot them outside clubs and approach them in a very friendly and welcoming way. He would often offer them a place to rest or a drink. These men never imagined that by accepting his seemingly kind offer, they would be walking into a trap that would change their lives forever.
Night after night, Sanaga would leave his Manchester flat to go and find victims. He took advantage of living in the city centre amongst the nightclubs and bars, and he made the streets outside them his hunting ground.
Once they were both inside his apartment, Reinhard would drug them with a substance that would cause them to fall unconscious. They were defenseless and unable to understand anything that was happening to them. It was then that Reinhard would be able to assault them and have his way with them without ever being detected. Reinhard's victims were often too intoxicated or disoriented to realize what had happened to them, even when the sedation wore off. Many woke up in his apartment feeling confused and embarrassed, but they couldn't remember the details of the assault. Some even apologized for their behavior, unaware that they were the ones who had been victimized by him.
That's wild, man. They wake up apologizing, you know what I'm saying? Like they the ones who done did something wrong. That just shows you that they have no idea of what really is going on, and that Reinhard is the one who is the freaking attacker and you are the victim.
Would often wait for drunk men to come stumbling out of this nightclub and then entice them around the corner to his flat, which is just next door. He'd offer them somewhere to have a drink or phone a taxi. And on one occasion, it took him just 60 seconds to pick up a victim.
Reinhard, like the truly sick monster he was, kept extremely careful records of his crimes. He filmed the assaults, sometimes leaving the victims unconscious for hours so that he could continue to violate them. He also kept trophies from his victims. These often included things like IDs, credit cards, and clothing. These trophies served as reminders of his power and control. The videos he recorded were horrifyingly long, with one lasting an entire 8 hours as he continued to assault his victim without hesitation. Clearly,
8 hours? This dude got a video of S.A.ing actually assaulting someone for 8 hours. This dude is beyond freaking crazy, beyond evil. What was the freaking thumbnail of this live stream? What I said on the thumbnail, Bean Team, I can't even freaking remember. It was something like evil. It was like evil is an understatement. Like calling him evil is an understatement. He beyond evil, way beyond evil, man. Lively. Imagine not remembering what happened to you, yet you still got trauma from this monster. Exactly. Even though you don't remember what happened, when you find out what happened, you still gonna be traumatized. Yep. Exactly, Canary.
Reinhard was such an arrogant and overconfident person that he truly didn't think he would ever get caught. He was brazen in his attacks. What kind of criminal keeps such careful records of his crimes? He was keeping all of the evidence carefully tucked away so that law enforcement could one day use it against him. But he wasn't the least bit worried about this because he fully believed nobody would ever catch on to what he was doing. Despite the extreme nature of his crimes, Reinhard's appearance and demeanor allowed him to blend in. He was very young looking with perfect manners and a charming personality. This made him appear harmless to his victims. He knew how to gain their trust, and once they were in his apartment, they were at his mercy. Over time, Reinhard's attacks escalated, and he became bolder in his actions. But he also became more sloppy with his crimes due to his overconfidence. It was only a matter of time until he slipped up so badly that not even he could talk himself out of it.
Nearly 200 mostly heterosexual men made this journey, disappearing inside Sinaga's apartment block. Then they'd be offered drinks spiked with a drink like GHB, and that was the last they'd remember.
By 2017, one of his victims, an 18-year-old young rugby player named Peter, fought back. Peter had been drugged and horribly assaulted, but managed to regain enough consciousness to confront Reinhard. What followed was a brutal fight, during which he attacked and viciously beat Reinhard badly enough that he had to be hospitalized. But after everything was over, Peter had managed to escape. Peter went to the cops and told them everything. Despite his story, they saw how badly beaten Reinhard was and believed that he had been the actual victim. It wasn't until they looked through Reinhard's phone that the cops discovered the horrifying truth. Peter hadn't been lying to them. He truly was a victim of Reinhard, but he was far from the only one.
They couldn't believe what they saw on it. The rapist had filmed each of his attacks. They found hundreds of hours of video.
The cops discovered countless incredibly disturbing videos that captured shocking crimes. Reinhard had been filming nearly all of his assaults. This discovery led to his arrest. Later, a search of his apartment revealed hundreds of videos, photographs, and trophies. There were more than 800 videos of assaults throughout the 2.5 years. The investigation revealed the full scale of Reinhard's crimes, which took place in 2015 through 2017. There were at least 206 victims, but there are likely many more that have never come forward. A lot of these victims were abused more than once. Many of them did not know that they had been taken advantage of by Reinhard until the cops found the video evidence, identified them, and told them the horrifying truth.
As far as the judicial process, probably anywhere in the world is concerned, he's probably the most prolific rapist that's come through the courts.
In the world?
I would say in the world, certainly in the British courts.
Reinhard ended up pleading not guilty to every charge against him. This was one of the...
Not guilty? He got the audacity to say he was not guilty. It's over 200 cases of you doing this stuff, bro. But you still gonna say with a straight face, you gonna tell us that you are not guilty. And Lively was like, bro, and I know the part you was like, bro, on was when they flipped it around and thought that the victim was the one who had attacked Nemhart or whatever the freaking stupid ass name is. They thought he had attacked them when he was the victim in the case. But I'm just tripping off the fact this dude gonna say he not guilty. Really? Yeah, lock him up and throw away the key or put him under the prison. I'll take either one. Seriously, Lively. Literally sick, because how do you do it to so many people? Like he did it to so many people, so I think he became numb to it. Like it was a beautiful day in the neighborhood for him, being team doing this crazy ass ish. And Jack only said, reminds me of Dahmer minus the murders. Yes, he do remind you of old Jeffrey Dahmer, man, minus the murders, because that's one thing. I'm glad Jack said that, because that's one thing that I can say, and I'm not saying to make it any better, but I can say he didn't murder none of these people. Or did Anna say that? Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but there was no murders involved. He just was essaying people and drugging people up. Freaking crazy, though. Don't make it no better. A crime is a crime, and especially a crime like this, he still need to do the time. Yes, Lively, a normal day in the neighborhood for him. Let's finish it up, y'all.
Cruelest things he could have done, because now his victims would have to endure the videos of themselves being abused being shown to a jury in a courtroom. It would take 4 different trials to come to a complete verdict. During the trial, the church that Reinhard supposedly once attended, a liberal congregation of the Church of England, provided a character reference for him. But this wouldn't be enough to convince anyone of his innocence. It is almost beyond belief that someone who could profess some Christian faith could at the same time have been committing such wicked and evil crimes, said the judge presiding over one of his trials. At the end of the 4th trial, Reinhard would finally be convicted on more than 150 counts of horrific assault and abuse. Tragically, the cops were never able to track down many of his believed victims.
We believe there's over 190 victims that have been involved with Sinaga, with Reinhard Sinaga, and 70 of them are still to be identified approximately.
Reinhard was given 88 concurrent life sentences for his crimes and must serve 40 years behind bars before he is eligible for parole. Nevertheless, just about everyone would agree that this is someone who doesn't deserve to see freedom ever again for as long as he lives.
Reinhard Sinaga has shown no remorse. The judge remarked that he seemed to be enjoying being sentenced in court.
How many more possible victims of Reinhard Sinaga could there be throughout Manchester and beyond? Will the full truth of this monster's crimes ever come out? Only time will tell. Thanks for watching, and don't forget.
And that's the thing, y'all. That's the thing with that one more than anything. I don't even think all his secrets have been revealed. I feel like it's known that he have done this to over 200 people or whatever. It may be 300, maybe 400. You know what I'm saying? And the reason I say that more than anything is because just me speaking as a man, I really do think it's a lot of men out here, long story short, story long, that would be too embarrassed to actually admit that they had been SA'd, sexually assaulted by another man. You know what I'm saying, man? Like, that's for a man, just speaking from a man perspective, it's hard to let all the world know that somebody else took their manhood. You get what I'm saying, being team like that? So I think a lot of people, a lot of men out here probably didn't even confess to what he had did just because they too embarrassed to admit to it. It's just a dirty, dirty freaking case. That's a dirty case, man. And Lively said true. Lively get what I'm saying, man. Like, seriously, that's just one of those things as a male. Alpha males are alphas. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to admit to somebody taking our freaking manhood. But me personally, I probably would have been, man, ain't no telling. Boy, if I would have woke up in his goddamn house, the house would have been turned over when I get through. Seriously, man. No, bro. We can't do no stuff like that, man. Bro. Lively said, I'm a girl, but I know that would hurt a dude to admit. Yes, it really would, man. All jokes aside. Y'all know I get to talking crazy. But all jokes aside, man. All jokes freaking aside. Being team. I know we're an hour in now, but I said we're going to watch 3 of them. So I'm gonna keep that word, and we're gonna check out one more, man. I appreciate all y'all still being here. If y'all ain't hit that like button yet, hit that like button. And to Rock and React, I don't know if Rock and React watching right now, but I know I told you last week that I would do a reaction to Ewu Crew, one of them videos that you suggested me. But I decided not to do it in this reaction live stream because I'm gonna actually do a reaction video to Ewu. Probably Tuesday, or not Tuesday, maybe Thursday or Friday. So you will see that video again then, because I want to see how the algorithm treats us as far as like reacting to Ewu Crew. So that's when I would do that. But I digress, mean team. We got one more to go.
William and Zach.
And the title of it is The Evil Parents Who Molested Their Kids in House of Horrors. 100 years behind bars. At least we know from the beginning that they ain't getting out of prison. You know what I'm saying? Long story short, story long, man. At least they freaking locked up. But it's so crazy, y'all. And just looking at the title is one of those things that just have me just thank God that I was born to the parents that I was born to. My mama, my daddy. I ain't seen my daddy since I was like 8 years old. But that was beside the point. I'm just talking about my mama, man. I'm just glad that my mama raised me up right and I was born in a great household, because there's so many children out here, y'all, that these freaking their parents are just terrible. Oh, these scums. Exactly, Canary. Like, there are so many children who are born to scum ass parents that would just treat them in the most horrible type of ways, through torture, murder, sexual assault, you name it, man. So if your parent was great to you growing up, you should feel so blessed to have that parent in your life, because me growing up as kids, man, we look up to our parents when we like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. We look at our parents like they superheroes. You know what I'm saying? Like that's our protectors and stuff. But there is a lot of kids out here that never get that feeling from their parents. That's all I'm saying. I know I just went on a little rant right then, but let's get to the last one, y'all. Let's get to the last one. Let's go.
William and Zachary Zolak weren't satisfied with just appearing normal. They needed to be seen as heroes. In Georgia's LGBTQ+ community, this married couple transformed themselves from ordinary professionals into celebrated activists and advocates. Featured in magazines and praised at events, they were champions of progress who had adopted 2 young brothers to prove that same-sex couples could provide loving homes to children in need. But behind their rainbow flags and perfectly curated social media presence lurked monsters who had weaponized the language of human rights to access vulnerable children. Their betrayal went beyond mere deception. They had turned the sacred cause of equality into a house of horrors. What they put their sons through can't really be put into words. But to do them justice, their story needs to be told.
These men adopted these children for this explicit purpose, to exploit these children. And so it turns my stomach. It's terribly disturbing.
This is the tragic case of William and Zachary Zolak. Just after their wedding in 2017, the Zolaks contacted an adoption agency, excited to start their family. William was 33 years old and Zachary was 2 years older. They'd met back in 2013 and they seemed made for each other. Everyone who knew them was really happy for them, especially when they heard they were looking to adopt a pair of siblings. People trusted these two. They'd worked hard to create a perfect facade. Less than a year after their wedding, on November 7th, 2018, they adopted 2 brothers, ages 7 and 9, through a Christian special needs adoption agency called All God's Children's, Inc. The agency, located in Watkinsville, Georgia, specialized in finding homes for special needs children in the foster system. The boys had entered foster care at ages 3 and 5 when they were removed from their biological parents due to serious drug addiction issues. For the Zolaks, this seemed like an opportunity to give 2 vulnerable children the stable, loving home they deserved. The couple built their dream home on a 2-acre secluded lot at the end of a cul-de-sac in the prestigious neighborhood where houses typically were sold for around $900,000. They decorated it with rainbow-colored decor and maintained a beautifully manicured landscape. William worked at a customer service center for a government department in their town, and his husband was the branch coordinator at a local bank. Everything about their lives and their home seemed designed to project an image of the perfect modern family. All God's Children adoption agents did not doubt for a second that these two were prepared to be parents. Sadly, we don't really seem to learn from past cases. Monsters often wear carefully crafted masks, and William and Zachary had crafted more than the image of a steady family. The Zulaks became prominent figures in Georgia's LGBTQ+ community. They attended pride parades, had their photos featured in Out magazine in 2020, and often posted on social media wearing "Love My Family" t-shirts with rainbow flags. Each rainbow
Yep, this is a classic case of wolves in sheep clothing. That's what we got going on right now, y'all. They portraying themselves to look so good, and they got a happy family. They love each other. They taking pictures in the magazines with the no hate on the side of their face and stuff. And all the while, they are wolves in sheep clothing. D-Mike, D-Mike, this is a good reaction live, my G. Appreciate it, D-Mike. Appreciate you being here, man. Live it. Oh no, that image of the four together in matching outfits. I remember this. I don't remember this at all. I have never heard of this case before. So this is new to me, man. Kind of, anyways. Exactly, Live. We watch so many of these different dash cases, so it's hard to remember all of them. But this seemed like one of those ones where we got two men who are wolves in sheep clothing.
Rainbow-colored post, each smiling magazine photo, each public appearance was another brushstroke in their masterpiece of deception. A beautiful mural painted over a chamber. While they basked in praise for saving two vulnerable children from the foster system, those same children were living a nightmare that would make even hardened investigators recoil in horror. The first crack in this perfect image appeared in July 2022, when investigators from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's Exploitation and Computer Crimes Unit received a disturbing tip. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children had traced explicit materials involving minors to an IP address in Walton County, Georgia. This led investigators to 27-year-old Hunter Clay Lawless, who had been downloading disturbing child content. You guys, we can't describe the content, but it's worse than you can imagine. First off, none of this content could be consensual. It involves children who should never be involved in such acts. Secondly, this was violent on par with many horror movies. It had officers in tears, and yet this monster was downloading this content for his own pleasure. When questioned, Lawless revealed something that would finally break the disgusting facade. He had been receiving horrifying messages and media from Zachary Zulak through Snapchat. According to Lawless, he had met the Zulaks through a mutual friend named Blake on the dating app Grindr. What followed was shocking. Zachary would send messages announcing his intentions to abuse his adopted son, followed by photos and videos documenting these crimes. One of the videos was titled "Effing My Son Tonight." If you can believe it, it gets even worse. Zachary had repeatedly invited Lawless to participate in person, though Lawless claimed he had refused. Before sunrise on July 22nd, 2022, law enforcement raided the Zulak home in Oxford, Georgia. It was a dramatic scene. Officers stormed in with what witnesses described as AK-47s, treating it like a major drug bust. Zachary was slammed to the ground and taken into custody. William, who slept without clothes, was pulled from his bed and placed naked in a police cruiser, where he remained for several hours while officers searched the property. Good evening.
No, man, I just got to bring up what the title of one of the videos was, Bean Team. Did y'all hear what one of the titles of these fucking sick ass, just deplorable, despicable, unimaginable videos was? Effing My Son Tonight. That right there, man, make me question humanity. Like, it's really people out here who is titling videos like that and really got a video out here like that. This evil will never cease to amaze me. Let's go.
And very disturbing details indeed. The Walton County Sheriff's Office says that it was an investigation by the GBI that led them to the couple.
What they found inside the home was devastating. Investigators seized 7 terabytes of evidence, enough storage to hold millions of photos or thousands of hours of video. The house had been rigged with cameras throughout, not for security, but to document the ongoing abuse of their adopted sons.
Zachary Zulak and his husband William Zulak are being charged for child crimes. The Walton County Sheriff's Office raided their home on St. Regis Way in Oxford and found that both men were engaging in sexually acts and videotaping it with their adopted sibling children.
It's impossible to understand what the 2 brothers went through at the hands of these monsters. There was no happiness, only fear, pain, and a constant reminder that they were their parents' play toys. As investigators dug deeper, they discovered that the abuse dated back to at least 2019, meaning these children had endured years of torture in what should have been their safe haven. The evidence was overwhelming. 149 images, multiple flash drives containing phone data, text messages, Snapchat messages, and letters written by their 11-year-old son. They even found clothing items in the boy's bedroom that matched what was seen in the videos. When the boys were taken to the hospital after the raid, the doctors confirmed the sad truth of what they had endured. The brothers, who are now 9 and 11, revealed that they had been told, "Our business is business, and what happens in the home stays in our home." Beyond the horrific SA they endured and other forms of torture, including being forced to stand in corners for 8 hours straight and being only allowed to move for meals or bathroom breaks. Perhaps the most frustrating aspect of this case was that there had been an earlier warning sign. In 2011, years before the adoption, Zachary had been reported to the police for allegedly assaulting a 14-year-old boy. However, the case wasn't properly investigated, and the detectives involved had since retired. Current law enforcement officials admit that the 2011 case was handled in a manner that is inconsistent with current investigative standards. In other words, the Zulaks should not have been able to adopt children, not without a proper investigation first. And here's another wild fact. In October 2021, the couple was trying to adopt another child, this time a girl. In his text to a former All God's Children agent, Zachary wrote, "We are doing awesome. The boys have changed so much from when we first met them." This text reads different knowing the full story. Through nothing short of a miracle, the Zulaks were arrested before they could adopt a 3rd child.
Thank you. Thank God they was arrested before they can adopt a little girl. Imagine what they would be doing to her. Oh my God, man. Jack, hey, I agree with you. 7 terabytes is crazy. Not kilobytes, not megabytes, not gigabytes, but terabytes. That is freaking stupid, man. Lively, yes. Thank God. These do, and it's crazy because we really can blame the system in this case, because these dudes should have never been allowed to adopt children in the first place. Y'all, they failed us from the beginning. Seriously. I'm mad at this case a little bit, man, because these dudes just freaking they disgusting, and it's kind of peeing me off. Let's go.
When Zachary was arrested, he said, "Sure, I sent the material online, but to less than a dozen people." That was his defense, that he didn't send it to too many people. He didn't try to justify what he and his husband did to their adopted sons. He didn't show any remorse either. Both Zachary and William's attitudes were a sort of, "Oh well, we got caught." In the months following their arrest, both William and Zachary were held in separate facilities. Their jail phone calls were recorded, and they revealed their true disgusting characters. While their sons were traumatized and displaced, Zachary's main concern was his financial situation, worrying about canceling subscriptions like Disney Plus and Amazon Video. William's complaints focused on the quality of jail food, claiming even dogs wouldn't eat the bologna sandwiches served. And they both complained that the police mistreated them and claimed that the raid had been motivated by their money.
I think they took our house because they think there was extra money coming in from somewhere, and we're like in our 30s and we have this big giant house, and didn't think we could afford it.
Meanwhile, it was revealed that these two didn't just send material to other people. They sold their sons to other men as part of a local P ring. One of the two men was Hunter Lawless, the one who claimed he had never accepted the Zulauk's invitation. The other man was 25-year-old Luis Sanchez. Sanchez had also SA'd his 13-year-old relative. One can only wonder what happened to these people to become such monsters, and why there are so many monsters living among us. In December 2023, both William and Zachary Zulauk were sentenced to 100 years in prison without the possibility of parole. They will both die in prison apart from each other. The judge's sentence reflected the magnitude of their crimes: aggravated child molestation, sexual exploitation of children, and multiple other felony charges.
Investigators say the men would brag to their friends, saying they plan to have sex with their sons, and then they would follow up after they carried out this really disturbing act.
Hunter Lawless was sentenced to 20 years in prison and Luis Sanchez to 60 years. The district attorney's statement following the sentencing was powerful. It cannot be stressed enough how important it is for our society to have individuals willing to adopt children in need, but anyone who does so and then abuses those children deserves extremely harsh consequences and decades in prison. These two defendants truly created a house of horrors and put their extremely dark desires above everything and everyone else. This criminology expert revealed the truly tragic truth of this story. William and Zachary adopted the two brothers, already knowing what they would do to them.
These men adopted these children for this explicit purpose, to exploit these children. And so it turns my stomach. It's terribly disturbing.
The two brothers.
Yes, and that's the most scariest part about it, y'all. That these kids who be put into foster care, these foster parents, they have evil intention before they even adopt these children. Like, they adopting these children to do something evil to them. That's the scary thing about it, man. And we got Rochelle here, man. Rochelle said, finally caught another live. What I miss being team. And guess what? She has joined the stage. Let's bring Rochelle up. Holler at her, man. Rochelle.
What up?
What up? What up? What up?
How everything been going? What I miss?
Man, you missed a lot of crazy ish today. Lord have mercy. We done went through.
I'm gonna go back and watch it.
Yeah, this the last one. But as far as this one goes, it's long story short, story long. Two guys who adopted two kids, and they was essaying them, and they just had evil intentions from the beginning. It's just wild, man.
Oh my.
It's wild how these dudes be doing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to definitely go back and watch it.
Yeah, you gotta start it from the beginning. But I just be saying, like, it's wild how these people who adopt these children from the beginning, they already have evil intentions of the reason they're adopting them. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. We see it so many times, especially on your show, Tragedy Tales, Evil Intentions. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it most definitely is. Let's keep going.
Are now 10 and 12. They have been thrown back into the foster care system, a system they once escaped, only to endure unimaginable horrors in what was supposed to be their forever home. While investigators report that they have shown remarkable resilience, this praise feels hollow against the reality of their situation. These children now carry the weight of not only unspeakable trauma, but also facing a chaotic uncertainty of foster care once again. The fundamental ability to trust, to believe that an adult who says, "I'll protect you," is telling the truth, has been shattered in the most violent way possible. How do you learn to trust again when the people who promised to be your saviors turned out to be your tormentors? How do you believe the concept of home when your last one had cameras installed specifically to record your abuse? The path ahead of these brothers is longer and darker than any child should ever have to walk. Their story is a tough reminder that we need to be smarter about who we trust. The Zulauks used their social status, careers, and carefully curated public image to appear trustworthy while hiding unimaginable crimes. They exploited a system designed to help vulnerable children, turning what should have been a story of hope into one of horror. The case has deeply affected the Walton County community. Neighbors who once admired the Zulocks' seemingly perfect family life now grapple with the knowledge that such evil existed behind their manicured lawn and rainbow decorations. The adoption agency that placed the boys with the Zulocks has since closed down. Predators often hide in plain sight, using respectability and social causes as cover for their crimes. It shows why we must look beyond surface appearances and why every report of potential abuse deserves thorough investigation.
Facts.
Disturbingly enough, there has been a similar case recently. Remember Jennifer and Sarah Hart? They were also a well-off gay couple who seemed to have it all. And they were also trusted when they asked to adopt 6 Black children.
I remember this story. From Nick
me
Crowley.
too.
And I think Lazy Masquerade about these kids, man. And it was terrible how that one ended. And that's what I be saying, Rochelle. Like, man, these kids be being adopted by these parents, thinking they got a new chance at life with better guardians, and they be just as worse as they actual parents.
Yeah.
Social media was like a highlight reel of the perfect multicultural family. There were photos of them looking super happy at music festivals, going on nature hikes, and just lounging around at home being all cozy together. And at a 2014 Black Lives Matter protest in Oregon, they went viral with a photo of their son Devontae crying as he hugged a police officer. Just like the Zulocks, these two used this moment to paint themselves as heroes, fighting for justice on all fronts. Except they were monsters. Marcus, Hannah, Abigail, Devontae, Jeremiah, and Sierra Hart, their 6 adopted kids, were actually suffering horrific abuse and neglect from their so-called moms. The mothers used starvation as punishment, forcing their children to go so hungry that they would beg neighbors for food. The kids were made to stand for hours like statues, forbidden from laughing or speaking without permission. In their Minnesota home, the basement was set up like a prison classroom, with children perched on wooden stools instead of proper desks. The mothers pulled them from school to homeschool them, which was really a way to hide the abuse from mandatory reporters. When 15-year-old Hannah attempted to escape by jumping from a second-story window and begging neighbors for help, the Harts manipulated the situation by painting her as troubled. Just as the Zulocks had installed cameras to document their crimes, the Harts documented their through a warped lens of social media activism. The Hart case ended in unimaginable horror. In March 2018, after years of reports and just days after Child Services began investigating, Jennifer Hart drove their SUV off a cliff in California, unaliving herself, her wife, and all 6 children. They had drugged the children with Benadryl before the murders. Sarah's final Google searches included, how many Benadryl would it take to kill a 130-pound woman? And does it hurt to die? Both the Zulock and Hart cases reveal a terrifying truth. Sometimes the most dangerous predators don't hide in the shadows. They hide behind causes, using the language of progress and equality as camouflage for unspeakable crimes. Now, unlike the poor Hart kids, the 2 brothers in the Zulock case have survived, but it will be a long, hard path to healing. Right now, they are taking it one day at a time, and they were brave enough to talk to authorities to make sure their dads face the right punishment. The courage of these young survivors remind us that behind every shocking headline are real children whose lives are forever altered. Their resilience in the face of such betrayal offers hope, but their story tells us to stay vigilant. The Zulock case isn't just another horrible crime story. It is a brutal reality check about how modern predators operate. These weren't shadowy monsters lurking in dark alleys. They were Instagram perfect parents who knew exactly how to play the game, wrapping themselves in rainbow flags and activism to make everyone trust them. Sometimes the scariest wolves aren't just wearing sheep's clothing, they're wearing superhero capes, and that's a terrifying thought. Thanks for watching, you guys. Leave your thoughts in the
Exactly. I think Anna put it better than I put it earlier. I was calling them wolves in sheep clothing. Maybe they was wolves in superhero clothing. They out here looking like Superman. And I think Canary hit the nail on the head when she said they always adopt just for the aesthetics rather than what they should be treated as children like they are. Yes, like they portraying like they put it on Instagram and Facebook and whatever social media. Oh, I adopted these kids and we got the perfect life and I love them so much. Like they putting on a show, they putting on an act, but behind closed doors is something horrible going on in that household, man. We see it so many freaking times. So many times. We got Canary. It takes no thoughts to treat others with humanity, but every thought to commit these atrocities against others. Boy, Canary be hitting it on the head, and I be agreeing with a
Every
lot you say.
time.
Canary. Absolutely, like absolutely. But I digress, Bean Team. We have watched 3 of them, man. We have went back to Anasaus for another day. Rochelle, I wish you would have got here earlier, man. I wish you would have got here earlier and would have joined us. But I'm glad you showed
I
up when
know
you
I
did.
just got off of work and I saw it was up here, so I was like, let me click on it.
Yeah, man. You know, I'll be back next Saturday. I don't know when, but I would love for you to join and actually, you know, do the whole live stream with me. We can do that.
Yeah, definitely.
When you got to work Saturday, next Saturday?
Yeah, I work every Saturday.
You be getting off around this time?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I probably start the next live stream next Saturday around like 5 o'clock my time. So maybe you can join.
Hey, that work. I'll definitely try to join.
My girl Inflow said, "Yay, yeah, man. That's the main reason I be going live, Bean Team. This give y'all the opportunity to join with me, and you know, let's have a conversation about these videos we be watching." So we got Rochelle here, my girl Livy. She be pulling up. Livy, make sure you pull up next weekend, man. We're gonna keep this thing going. We're gonna keep it going. Ice Pub said we gotta do Kahoot again. Ice Pub, we most definitely doing Kahoot again this month. I'll say at the end of this month, probably like 2 weeks from now, we're gonna do another Kahoot game, and it's gonna be even more interesting than the first one we did.
Yeah, I missed the last one. I'm gonna try to make sure I'm there for this one.
Yeah, you gotta play Kahoot with us, man. You most definitely gotta tap into the Kahoot. Canary said, glad I made it to live and more people in Bean Team should join for real, for real. It's great having more commentary. Yes, that's my goal, Canary, man. Just to have a group of us up here watching these videos together. Livy said, I may join next time. I was tired tonight. It's all good, Livy, man. I'm just glad you here showing support. You know, you always in the comment section, man. Shout out to you. And Canary said, please do Kahoot. I was fighting for my life. Time, but did yes, hey, that was just the start of one of Canary. We most definitely gonna be back for them. But Rochelle, is there anything else you gotta say before I let you go?
No, it was just good being here.
All right, yeah, I appreciate it.
Sorry it was late, but
no, you good. I just appreciate you showing up when you did, man. Like I said, I'm gonna probably start the next one. I'll start the next one a little later. Hopefully you'll be home then. Hopefully you'll join. But whenever you can join, it's always a good time. And I love
always.
And I'll see you later.
All right, y'all enjoy y'all day.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, Bean Team, another reaction live stream on another freaking Saturday, man. Shout out to Rochelle, y'all. Rochelle pulled up on it. Livy said, have a good night, Bean Team. You have a good night too, Livy, man. And before I let y'all go, just make sure y'all come on back tomorrow for another Mr. Ballin' Sunday. And please, 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 please make sure that y'all hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and do all that if you ain't that. And remember this. Love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.